welcome to B-Sides Augusta. Welcome to the Living in America track. Good to see that a lot of you have turned up for our next speaker. Before we get to Michael, let me read a couple of numbers off. These are the first round of raffle drawings. So if you have your tickets, you might want to go ahead and pull those out. You do not have to claim it now. You can claim it after this. But all the raffle prizes have to be claimed, I think. Oh gosh, we went back and forth on the time so many times I don't remember when it ended up at, but it was something like 3 o'clock. Something like 3:45? Okay, at 3:45. You got to claim by then. All right, everybody got their tickets ready to go? 285-3842 is the first. 285-3842, and that was first pick of the various pile. Again, 285-3842. Next was one of the Tactical Tailor backpacks. And that was 965-596, 965-596. The next is, I think, a pretty cool one. One of the Hack 5 field kits with a pineapple nano, which actually, if you were in the last talk, it has one of those Hack 5 land turtles and a rubber ducky as well, the ones that actually Wes talked about briefly. 028-222. That's 028-222. Next is a Klein bottle, which Mark explained a little bit this morning, delivered with the personal touch of Cliff Stoll, who's actually one of the pioneers of our industry. 591-061, 591-061. Okay, and the next thing was an Ace Hackware gift card. I think it was for over $200, so it's a good one. 028-777, 028-777. We get any woo-hoos in here? I didn't hear anybody win. You're all a bunch of losers. No, it's all good. Okay, so on to our next speaker. Michael does some pretty cool stuff with Rendition InfoSec. He's actually one of our sponsors today. If you follow them on Twitter, you probably also follow one of their founding guys, one of the co-owners, Jake Williams, is actually here in the room too. So, we appreciate your support, Jake, and we appreciate Rendition's support of B-Sides Augusta. Michael here is a security consultant, gets to go out and do cool stuff that a lot of you wish, I'm sure you could do. Gets to go do penetration testing, social engineering, and vulnerability assessments. He's going to talk to us today about the topic somewhat like that. So I give you my thanks.
Morning. So basically the talk of the title is You Too Can Defend Against Millions of Cyber Attacks. So I was, looking for a theme for the presentation. I thought Dr. Evil would work well with the word millions, so I threw him in there. So my name is Michael Banks, and again, I'm a security consultant at Rendition InfoSec. And also throughout the presentations, anyone that takes a picture of the presentation and tweets it at RenditionSec, they're giving away 3 iTunes gift cards. So if you do that throughout the talk, just tweet that to RenditionSec. I'm also a SIGO in the reserve, been in the reserve for a while. I do that as well. And I'm a recent graduate of Augusta University, right here. So standards disclaimers, opinions are of my own and not of any of my employers. I'm not a lawyer, and this is definitely not legal advice. So overview is basically, I'm gonna go background, how I got to, do this talk, and some of the things that motivated me to do the talk, and go over some numbers and basically some projects that I started doing and some takeaways. So I was sitting in Baltimore, and I don't watch the news too much. I keep, up to date on the current stuff that's going on. But at the time, there was this thing that happened in the news, and they mentioned something known as an SF-46, a Standard Form 86, Standard Form 86. And I was like, that sounds familiar. I think I did something like that, or I had one of something like that. And basically, it's a big stack of papers with a lot of information on it. And if you don't know about it, just Google it. You'll find plenty of information on it. But an organization was hacked, and they seemed to house a bunch of SF-86s. So I was, it caught my attention. It was just playing on TV. And I looked into it, and one thing that I found is there's a lot of hearings when it's government entities. That once they get hacked, there's a lot of hearings that Congress has. So luckily, the hearing was happening in a couple of days, so I caught the hearing, and actually the director, Ms. Archuleta, who's no longer the director, was going through the hearing, and one of the quotes that she mentioned is up there. They thwart 10 million attacks all constantly that they protected against. So I was like, I said to myself, what does that even mean, really? So it was something they threw out there. I didn't want it to be an excuse, but yeah. So I started watching that, and that happened from the Committee of Oversight and Government Reform. So I was watching that one, and I started to watch more congressional hearings when it was about cyber and technology, and I noticed a pattern, a theme that kept going repeatedly, no matter what hearing it was. One of them was, we need more talent, which is echoed in many different organizations. Insert your organization here, whoever it is that's in the media, that they face millions of cyber attacks, whether it's per day, per month, per year. And then the last theme I keep hearing on the Hill is something referring to a cyber Pearl Harbor. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe it's OPM. I have no clue. But that term is used by the congressmen and senators constantly. So I stepped back and I was like, what is a cyber attack really? I mean, I have some thoughts about it, but it really depends who you're asking. So in the public sector or the government, they refer to the CFA. And it has many interpretations. I looked at it, I read it. It's very, I don't want to say too vague, but it covers a wide gambit. So that's what they consider the statute of what a cyber attack really falls under. I kept searching, and I found another definition that the DoD uses. And they're just a little more descriptive and a little more in-depth of what they consider cyber attack. But it really, didn't drive home or provide something for a framework of what a cyber attack really is or what it might look like. So I'm sure they have their own definition, but I'm sure some public entities like, Target, Sony, and Wendy's might have a different definition of what a cyber attack is based on their experience. So one thing, a good trend what this entire talk is based on are the numbers. So I mean, a lot of people and a lot of times they say numbers don't lie. And sure, numbers don't lie, but they can be presented in a way that might be misleading or might paint a different picture than what's actually happening. So one of the things I see in the news constantly and all the time is, different attacks, millions this, millions that. I'm still saying to myself, it's not really telling me what's really happened, what kind of attack this is, what's happening behind the scenes. But if they get this information, they paint a bigger picture of what's actually happened, because for example, if there's, an attack happening on a network, if I got to talk to my boss and say, we need more funding, if I'm just going to tell them we got scanned, and there was a breach, if I give a bigger number, it's more likely for me to get funding, so I'm going to tell them the bigger number than what actually happened. But the biggest one of all that I saw was 300 million cyber attacks each day. I don't know what they mean by it or how they're calculating it, but it's out there in the news constantly. So I'll give a good example of how it's reported. Let's take an SSH brute force attack. If I have a word list of 10,000 words and I attack an IP, let's say it takes 3 minutes to do. It's reported as 10,000 rapid, sophisticated cyber attacks that were thwarted because I didn't get logged in. So sure, but it could also be reported in other venues as one failed intrusion event. So if I had to tell that to my boss and I want funding, which one would I probably use? Yeah, that's how it's reported in the media as well. Another example, I need bigger numbers. I need bigger numbers. So let's try an IMAP scan. I want to scan all the ports. 65,000. When in actuality, there's no report because, you get scanned all the time. So I wanted to, get real numbers, get real data on how you can calculate this and, get some information. So I came up with something called Project Slime. So Project Slime basically is a project designed to research the adversary's behavior. One buzz term I hear a lot is user behavior analytics and analysis. So I created Project Slime to do that. And what Project is on the back end is basically plan on doing this every year. And V1, that's already in place now, is, deployment on DigitalOcean. It's basically a Linux server. And I'm running Kippo. And I put a nice little website on the web and let it sit there. Let it, accumulate some stats, some logs. So one of the things I'm interested in grabbing with Project Slime is username, password, word lists. I'm grabbing the session of what a person logs in if they get the correct password. So I didn't want to set the password too hard to not, get an attacker to get all the way in the honeypot. So I set it pretty reasonably easy for them to get in, because once they get in, the full sessions is being logged on what they actually type, where they go, what they try to run, and things they try to pull in. So I also wanted all the different, tools and downloads that they wanted inside the environment to run. So it also captures that as well. That's what's in place now. And I'm gonna go over some stats I'm gonna set. Next year, I'm planning on doing something a little bit more robust. Instead of just getting the log data, I actually want to see what they do, where they go. So right now, they're given an environment that they can go in, and they try to run different commands. And if I don't have the commands on the approved list, or create a response for that command, it doesn't happen. I do allow them to bring things in the environment if they want to download something, but they don't have access to it. They think they download it, and they don't actually have it. So that's what's currently in. Next year, I'm planning on doing something still in development on how I'm actually going to implement it, but I'm thinking about using something like Docker, creating an entire OS that's its own standalone machine, not networked to anything else, and they can actually just play with it. Create some data on there that's fake data, fake username and password, different things like that, to see where they go first, what they download, what they bring in. And then once they're done with it, I just blow away that, archive it, image it, and take analysis, while I'm still capturing the same information from what I'm currently doing about username and password attempts. So staying on V1, it's been deployed now for 27 weeks, and that's my big number that I was able to capture, 599,000 attempts. So I could go even further and just capture IPs on connections, but I'm actually capturing the amount of times a person actually puts in a username and passwords and presses enter. So if they just come to the site and leave, or come to the port and leave, I'm not counting that. I want the confirmed number of what a person actually attempted, something that would violate the CFAA if they actually logged in. So that's my current stats. Some of the things I'm saving are the unique IPs, passwords, accumulating all of that, and bringing that into the environment to get numbers and stats to see what's used. And there's some interesting things you can also take from the data as far as the IPs and the geolocation to see what countries even attacking the box. So what country do you think are number one? China. That's a good guess. It's pretty accurate. What about number two, though? Russia? U.S.? So here are the top countries that are attacking, and U.S. is number 2. India was number 3. And some of them are shocking to see, but some of them are not. But yeah, China, of course, China. Question? So it's only whatever IP that actually makes the connection. Since it's going over SSH, so it's a TCP connection, so it's making the full connection. Maybe it's going through a VPN, sure. But I'm only taking, again, the first approach. Yeah. So some of the other unique things I'm capturing, again, usernames and passwords. So again, some of these are no-brainers, that they would be the highest numbers. But I mean, it's different things that's also, telling, like pi, get, some of the usernames they're trying. Like, of course, root and administrator. So changing to something that's not up here would be more, I would say, preferable to configure to log in on something like SSH. Some of the passwords, again, some no-brainers, some a little surprising, and some, are more telling of the country as well. Some of these like support, admin, sure. But WUBAO or WUBAO, some of these are like, you can sort of tell, that it's international, it's not US probably trying to log in. So yeah, trailing 27 weeks, I'm going to let this run to the end of the year. It won't be a full month because I deployed it in like March. It wouldn't be a full year. So one of the different things I'm calculating is right now on the current path, they get about 4,000 a day. So that would make 1.4 million in an entire year. So next year I'll have a full year of actual data. But, what's next? So I'm actually going to dump all the information that I've got and put it on GitHub at the end of the year along with like a report of everything I found, different patterns that I saw, different usernames, different IPs, and even the word list, so that can be downloaded and used. If I would recommend, even if you don't use word list to try to crack passwords or whatnot, download the text file and make sure your password isn't on there. If your password's on there, you probably want to change it. So that's different things. I plan on doing this every year. It runs a lot of it automatically by itself, doesn't require a lot of maintenance. A couple of things I would recommend if you do something like a honeypot is take your data from the cloud if you host it somewhere like DigitalOcean and analyze it somewhere else. Because right now I'm using, if you saw the dashboards or the graphs and charts earlier, I'm using Kibana, Elk, Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. And I'm doing that in the same VM currently that the instance is running on. So DigitalOcean, you can get a base install for like $10 a month. When I was just aggregating the data, that was fine. Once I wanted to actually analyze it and get numbers back, 1 gig of RAM wasn't doing it. So that $10 instance a month went to 20. And when that grew, it went to 40. So, take your data somewhere local and analyze it somewhere else where you can actually have more RAM and it doesn't cost you per month. So that's definitely something I recommend. I plan on doing this every year. So some of the takeaways is actually, again, the word list. This is basically a log of the word list. There's more information on the back end, but this is one of the things I dumped already. And if you want to get that information, it is on GitHub. So one of the things on there is the dump. You have the IPs and the dates that the honeypot captured it. So you can actually go in there. Some other things, there's 2 branches. There's a development branch to where I'm writing some tools that'll actually capture basically a tool that'll take the IPs, no matter what OS you're on, and automatically block the IP. And all you would do is either feed it this list or any word list that you have, it'll pull the IP out of it and block that IP. So that's different things that are on the GitHub. Couple conclusions basically. Don't use simple passwords. One thing, as you saw before, root is the highest guess that they're going to take, so I would disable root, not the full account, but its ability to log in through SSH. So I would choose a username not on that list as well. Log in, and then you can elevate your privilege to root if you really need root. But having it disabled from the public login saves you a bunch of times, and it throws off your attacker a big well. Some of the other data that is on the honeypot is not on GitHub, but that adds a lot of value I can show you now is, again, it shows you what they actually do on the server. So, and this is another neat reason why I like Kippo, is that you can actually see exactly what, again, the attacker types. That's that. We're not seeing that. Alrighty. So one of the things you can see what the attacker types, and it's pretty definitely telling. And there's an entire directory full of logs just like this. So I mean, I can actually go see exactly what they type, where they go, and things might work, things might not. So it's definitely useful. One of the other things I mentioned before is it has capability to allow them to bring different things in. So if they wget a file, it'll actually download the file, but they won't have access to it. And sometimes they download some tools, and it's definitely useful. As you see here, you downloaded the file, you downloaded the website. It actually tells you sort of the level of your attacker as well, because you downloaded his website instead of the actual tool you wanted. So, and now he downloaded his tool, and he tries to find it, and he might have access to it, but again, he doesn't have access to it. So, what Kippo actually does, now I have that tool as well. So actually, I was curious on what this was. So looking at it, she can't talk. So what was this attacker trying to do? Turns out that tool was DDoS. I don't know if he wrote it himself or if he downloaded it somewhere else. But I mean, there was this Perl. He was trying to run this Perl program to basically DDoS the website. So now I have this Perl program that I could use somewhere else, or I know I need to disable Perl. So different things like that is very useful to get this information. But I will say, one of the other unique things that I did see, and disclaimer, this one is not done in my honeypot, and I didn't actually do this one, but this is the funniest one I saw. So this person's another one of the interesting attackers that actually tried to log in on one, and then actually watching what he's going and where he's going. Maybe this is Andrew Morris. I don't know. But I mean, you can actually get a lot of information based on watching what someone tries to do. So it's definitely useful in that aspect. So I now see what domains the attacker uses, if it's his own, where he tries to go, and what things he tries to get. Now a lot of it works, and you can write the response for it. The way this one works is anything he pings, he'll get a response on what he pings. It'll grab the IP and reply. Some attackers are more persistent than others. Some will log in, do a few commands and leave. Some are more persistent where they'll keep trying different things. Some will figure it out pretty quickly as a honeypot. Some takes a while for them to figure out as a honeypot. A neat thing about this as well is you can write the responses you want it to happen. So if he runs a command and I want a certain response, I can make him angry, And that's one of the uniqueness that I do like about Kippo is you can actually customize a lot of it. And he is pretty persistent. I don't know if he even figured it out yet, honestly. So he goes back to pinging me. Live pings progress. Hey, he's catching on. See, maybe he's catching on.
So that'd be B8.
They should have tried BB6. And then they figure it out eventually. So yeah. So again, this is a lot of information you can get from a person on what they try. And definitely useful to have a honeypot, because I mean, I literally have a directory of about 100, 200 of these. So I mean, you know, taking time and looking through it to see what's actually out there, to see what they do and what they download, and different, I mean, I got a directory full of downloads of different files that they try to download as well. So I mean, right, are there any questions? If not, I have a few things to go in. We have a 6-month part-time membership to the clubhouse. This is a local one. So if you're not local, I probably wouldn't recommend it for this one. But I guess a question, what was the name of the Honey Potter Museum? So, on the back. Kippo, yep. And another prize, you can get it. Another prize is the Hacker Playbook 2. Good read. A lot of useful information in this one. What was the third country with the most attempts?
India. Oh, nope.
All right. Yep. India. That's all my talk. If you have any questions, I'll be afterwards. And don't forget the speed tradition set. You have a question?
Tom Jenkins and Jeff Turner and Dr. John Brotline. And we'll come back and see you. I've got your gift cards. Appreciate it.
You have a question? No? Are you good? Yeah. Thank you.